Hello, lovely people of the internet. Today I'm bringing you my one and only Inktober piece that I finished in actual October this year. And I didn't follow a prompt list. I usually don't follow a prompt list, but because I think that I don't get to paint the 31 pictures, so I don't need to follow prompt list basically. So I actually wanted to do 4 Inktober's, but I think it will only be 2. The other one is still in the making. I just don't have the time to get to it at the moment, and also I just want to be finished with it, and that's why I procrastinate. Because I actually would have to do it then. And since those are 2 pieces that are connected, it's basically the same, just with a different figure or person in the foreground and some changes in the background. And the person you see in this one is one of my OCs, a relatively new one. And I'm also currently writing on a story plot or on a story for them, or for their story. And it is set in Victorian London, and the person you see there that I'm just outlining is Florence Adair. She is the protagonist, and she's studying on a university, and it kind of goes or it's supposed to be kind of like a gothic novel, and it plays in a alternative Victorian universe. Let's say it like that, or let's put it that way. And I tend to work smaller, and that's really bad in traditional art because I like to draw details, and as you can see with the university in the background, that's supposed to be the university, and it was so small, and I really can't draw a straight line. And it was just really difficult. And yeah, so if you look closer, the windows are not symmetrical, and also, well, who do I lie to? None of the lines are symmetrical or like straight, or parallel. So I think that's just... it's just art, so I'm glad I'm not an architect. That was something I considered for a very short time, because I then found out that I can't draw straight lines. So here we are. I'm illustrating this house, and I really try my best, but I don't know how do you do that. So my hands are really shaking always when I draw something, and I have to have a lot of control of the tip of the pencil, so I get a rather straight line. So it's really straining, and it's really difficult. And yeah, sometimes my hand just moves and there's no straight line at all. So I don't know how it's possible to do that. But if you have any tips, please feel free to tell me, because yeah, other than using a ruler for things like that, I don't really know how to how to do that. So as I mentioned, the story is supposed to be set in Victorian England, and Florence is upper middle class, and she goes to university. I'm not sure if women were allowed to go to university in that time. I really doubt it, but I just took the liberty, and because it's an alternative universe and maybe there are some magic parts in it, I thought, why not like change things like that. Also, she's a black woman, and they were obviously also not allowed to go to uni. So there are some things that I changed for the purpose of telling my story. or I'm about to change. And I hate, for example, that people say, oh, but it's Victorian and she is a woman, she wasn't allowed to go to university. Well, that's my story, so I'm allowed to tell it however I want to. And it's not non-fiction, so it's not supposed to have every fact right. Yeah. So in a few moments I will start with the coloring, or with putting the shades down. And it was so difficult because she has a darker complexion, and it's really difficult to figure out how ink will dry before you put it down and before it actually dries, because I put down dark colors and I thought like, yeah, it will like dry kind of like this, maybe a little lighter, but then when it was dry it looked nothing like that, and it was really light, and I had to go over it 1,000 times. And I didn't put everything here in the video, so I cut a lot of that out because it was rather boring watching me go over the same area 1,000 times, I think. But that's what I did in the end. Oh yeah, and I noticed in the beginning of the video I had some paint speckles on my arm. That was from when I painted my wall in my bedroom. So yeah, if you noticed that, you're welcome. I didn't notice it when I recorded the video, obviously. And do you also have like a glass like on the right side, which is rather dirty and just doesn't get clean anymore? I use this for years now, and I think it's also covered in acrylics and stuff, and it just doesn't come off at all. So I don't know what really to do with it. So yeah, I'm still on the clothing, as you can see, and there you can see how it dried. So I thought I put down a rather dark wash of color, or like of ink, and it dried so light, and yeah, I had to go over it 1,000 times again and again and again, and it was really, I won't say aggravating, but it was a little straining. And what's the most fun for me is actually painting the persons, so I don't really like painting backgrounds. So it was okay for me to paint over her 1,000 times, but if it would have been the background, well, actually I had to paint over the background a few times, but not as much as of the protagonist or over the character, because I kind of figured out the values now, and also the ratio of water and ink, and at which ratio I dilute the ink with water. But here you can see again, I go over it and over it and over it again. And at this point the coat, or her coat, was a little too dark for my liking, but well, it was too late, so I couldn't really. I could have gone over it again with water and lighten it, or try to lighten it a little bit, but I figured out that I really don't like this paper because it's so easily destroyed, and I found that out through using my rubber when I erased the. It's called. Do you know what rubber is? Okay, I will call it eraser. When I used the eraser, because the paper was really ripping apart, and that I really don't like that. And also, do you have a good recommendation for masking tape, or for the tape that I use to fixate the paper on my desk? Because there's the same problem. It just rips the paper apart every time I have a loss of paper because parts are ripped out of it, and I try to, I don't know, be as gentle as possible, but it never fully works. So I don't know, maybe I worked too long on a painting and so it really connected with the paper or something. I don't know how this works, so maybe that's the case, and maybe not. I suppose I'll never know. Yay, as you can see, I've almost finished the character, and we're on the how can I call that? The decoration or the frame. And there as well I had to go over it a lot of times and also cut it out when I felt like it's not really necessary to see what I'm doing there, because it's just like layering and layering of color. And yeah, what else? Yeah, I still have to paint the sky, and I wanted it to be like a really cloudy sky. As you can see, I try to reach that, but I don't know. I'm not as good as ink because I only paint with it once a year for Inktober, so I'm not really the best at using ink. But I really love the red ink that I use all the time, or every year I use it, and so I wanted to incorporate it as well, and also because it's a gothic novel, and I wouldn't say I associate the red ink with blood, but I kind of do. So I think we come to a very exciting moment in this video, because I wanted to do or to put red ink around the protagonist, around the character, and I cut out like a paper, basically a cover for the character, and I tried it out on a different paper with a different like drawing and a different cover, and it worked. So I thought I could use this as well here in this painting, but it didn't work. So I sadly didn't record everything. I also wanted to make a reel out of it, and then it just didn't work. So it's kind of awkward. So you can see me drop the ink on the paper, and then I pull the thing away, and you don't see that, but you see what happened. Yeah, I wasn't really, I don't know, I think at this point I was not really annoyed anymore, because a lot of bad things happened with my art already, and I just go with it now and just pretend that it was like deliberate. And I also put more red ink on it and call it a day, as you can see. So yeah, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.